Hi, ladies and gentlemen, this is Alvin from Dr. Wealth, and today I'm going to share with you an upcoming IPO Kuaishou that is happening in Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Right, so if you are interested, be sure to watch on. Usual disclaimer, pause and read if you need to. Okay, what is Kuaishou? Kuaishou is a short video app, social media app that is very popular in China. And of course, some of you will be thinking of TikTok, the international version of Douyin. Yes, it is similar and they are arch rival in this space. Okay, so Kuaishou is going ahead of TikTok or Douyin for this IPO, right? So this is the very first short video focused social media app that is going to be listed. All right, and some IPO details. The IPO is priced at around $115 Hong Kong dollars per share, and that would be a valuation of about 472 billion Hong Kong dollars. Okay, and I calculated, so that would be about a price to sale of 11 times. This is estimated because their 2020 numbers are not, the full year has not concluded, so they only have first 3 quarters or the first 9 months. So I extrapolated a little bit, estimated a little bit. So it's around 11 times. And compared to other, live streaming, not exactly short video, but live streaming companies, which we actually covered in another previous video, you can just look for it. If you're interested to watch more about the competitors, right? So Douyin is trading at 3 times, Huya is about 4 times, which are more game focused, and Bilibili is at 26 times, right? So that looks a lot more expensive. So I would say that relative to the closest competitors, because Douyin is not listed, so we have to use other competitors, not exactly the same, but close enough, I would say. And at 11 times, it doesn't seem that expensive, right? It seems probably closer to fair price. Right, the net proceed they're going to raise is about 40 billion Hong Kong dollars, which I don't think is a lot, okay, because that's like just 9% of the issued share capital. So it seems like they are not raising a lot of money, they are not in need of a lot of money. It's more like probably getting exposure, right? Hopefully that would also get more international users, right? Okay, on the app itself. It's going to list in Hong Kong Stock Exchange by this ticker number 1024, and 5th Feb is the first day of trading, right? So it's pretty soon. If you are interested to sign up for the IPO, you probably, as a foreign investor, because we are speaking of Singapore, right? So you have to check with your broker if they provide this kind of a foreign IPO to you. If so, then usually they will take a big amount. 250,000 Sing is like a minimum kind of subscription, right? So it's not going to be a small amount if you want to participate in IPO. Otherwise, you can wait until it's listed, then you can buy the shares off the exchange. Okay, and they will be listing with a dual class share structure, or they call it a weighted voting right structure, right? WVR. You will see this in their prospectus in various sections where they mention. So let me explain to you what it means. So they have Class A shares and Class B shares. Class A shares will have 10 times the voting power of a Class B share, right? So Class A share will have 10 votes. Class B share will only have 1 vote per share. Okay, and then your Class A share is convertible to Class B. So you can convert your A to B, but not the other way around, right? Your B cannot be converted to A. So why are they doing this is because this is very common for tech companies, right? Dual class shares structure. This is to protect the founders to continue to have controlling stake in the company or controlling voting power in the company without having majority of the shares. Okay, because as tech company, they always dilute themselves when they raise money from investors, right? So they sell equity, and they will lose control very fast when they sell too much equity. So that's why a lot of tech companies have this kind of dual class shares, right? So these are the two co-founders, Su Hua and Cheng Yixiao, right? So they are the co-founders, and Su Hua has about 12% of the share capital. Yixiao has about close to 10%. Right, so you can see they don't own a lot of company. Add together is only about 20%, but they are, in terms of their voting power, because they have a lot of Class A shares, right? Su has 39% and Yixiao has about 31%. So add together is almost like 70% of the voting power. So they can outvote a lot of people on many matters. All right, so that, as I said, is to protect them. to still have that stay in the company, even though they have given up a lot of their equity by now. All right. And other big shareholders, of course, Tencent is one of the more well-known backers of Kuaishou. Okay, so after the listing, Tencent will still have around 18% stake in Kuaishou. Right now, they have more than 20%, right? So there'll be a little bit of dilution over there. It will drop to about 18%. Okay, and this is a comparison with other companies. They in their prospectus, right? They didn't mention the company name specifically, but as you can see, Kuaishou in terms of daily average users, definitely beat many of the competitors except this one, company E, right, which is the main competitor. Okay, and you can see even the daily average time span, they beat majority, but they lose to this competitor again. Okay, no detail for revenue, streaming revenue, blah 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 for competitor E. Okay, so this I can be quite confident to say this is Douyin, even though they didn't name the company, but this is Douyin. That's the biggest in China, and they are growing fast. Right, so that is a big threat to Kuaishou. Okay, so I do see the presence of Douyin is becoming a two-way fight between Kuaishou and Douyin. Right, and it seems like Douyin has the upper hand at this point in time. Okay, in terms of the geography, demographic, right, in China, you will see that Kuaishou has is more popular in the lower tier cities, right? Like especially tier 4. Okay, have a 34% kind of user base, right, on Kuaishou, and tier 2 as well. Whereas for Douyin, mostly in the tier 1, right? So even the kind of demographics on these short video platforms are different, right? Of course, if you say about purchasing power, then Douyin seems to be on the better side, right? But in terms of catching the rural areas, okay, Kuaishou has the upper hand. Okay, so maybe they can make up with the numbers, right? Who knows? Okay, maybe they have lower spending power, but they can make up with the numbers, right? And they can still gather a decent revenue from them. Okay, so it's still too early to tell, right? Whether these demographics will have a big impact to their future growth of the app itself. Revenue model for Kuaishou, mainly they make money from live streaming, right? I'll explain to you how actually they make money. What do they mean by live streaming, as well as online marketing services. All right, other services includes your e-commerce affiliates links. Right, so they started off with a very high percentage, right? 95% just 3 years ago comes from live streaming, and another 5% comes from online marketing services, right, which is actually advertising. And you can see that the numbers have decreased. The percentage share has decreased. Okay, just cut off. Here is 9 months, whereas here are all full years. Okay, so you can see it's declining, and then yet the advertising numbers are increasing, right? So which is a healthy way to look at it. I see this as a good thing, all right, because they have opened up another viable source of revenue. Okay, and another one that's creeping up is also the other services, right? More than doubled, right? Okay, more than doubled since 2019 to 2020. For the online marketing services, which is advertising, it doubled, right? For live streaming, it actually just increased about 10%. Okay, so you can see some slowing down in this live streaming, right? The main one, but they have new revenue segments that are coming up and growing strongly, which is a good sign, right? That will make them a much bigger company in time to come. This is the main revenue model, right? This is their what do we call it? Live streaming, okay? And I put it here, gifting. Basically, how it works, right, is that because they will have influencers, they will have a lot of followers. The followers will like certain influencer, and then or key opinion leaders, right, KOLs, and then they can give like virtual gifts. Okay, they will pay money, exchange to maybe their coins, and then that's how Kuaishou will make some money, right? They'll take a cut of the gifts, okay, that's given to all these influencers, right? So mainly that's how they make money. Okay, gifting some can be like this kind of esports, right? Watching their favorite influencer play game, and they can also buy some of these coins, and then they can give these virtual items to streamers, right? When they buy certain items, right, to give them, to empower them to win the game, okay, to root for their influencers. Right, so I mean, it's quite novel ways of making money, okay, for entertainment. All right, so the prices of this gift can range a big range, right, from 10 cent to 2,000 renminbi. Okay, so it's very wide range, right? If you feel generous, of course you can give a lot more. And based on this iResearch team, they say that this kind of virtual gifting market, right, in China, it's going to grow pretty fast at a CAGR of 20%. Okay, but we did see that the revenue growth, right, in this from 2019 to 2020 is actually just about 10%. Okay, so if let's say their estimation is correct, then Kuaishou is growing below the industry CAGR, and that's not good. All right, and that's not good. Okay, so otherwise, right, this number is wrong. Okay, usually I would think that projection are not as accurate as reality, right? So I will take these numbers with a pinch of salt. And then another growing one, the second revenue segment is coming out very fast. As you can see, doubled from last year, is the advertising. Okay, once you have a lot of people on your app, you know, advertising is always one of the easiest way to monetize, right? So whether is it the short video ads that is in their thumbnails, you know, when they are watching something, they can swipe up and down, or whether it's display ad when they go to the shops, okay, or they purchase something. Right, so we're also trying to create a super app. As you can see, they have a lot more features as opposed to just videos alone, right? Not just entertainment alone. Okay, so in terms of the China mobile advertising market, right? Again, based on research, these are projection. Okay, it's growing even faster at 33%. Right, so and in this case, we have seen that the Kuaishou is doubling, right, since last year. Right, in terms of this advertising revenue. Of course, when they are smaller, it's easier to double, triple, quadruple, right? But as they grow bigger and bigger, this growth rate will slow down. But at this point in time, because of they are growing this revenue segment, right, they should enjoy very high rate of growth even in the next few years. That's what I can see. All right, and then in terms of the last revenue segment, they're trying to open up this e-commerce, and they have this Kwai shop, right, which is their own internal shop to sell products. Okay, so they're also moving into e-commerce. So you can see that it's really heating up in the China social media space, and even like being a super app, right? Almost every company wants to create a super app to trap all their customers in their ecosystem without them needing to leave and do other things outside of their app, right? So whether you want to buy stuff, whether you want to have entertainment, whether you want to play games, Kuaishou try to keep all their customers, all the users on their platform. Okay, so now influencers can also open a shop, right? A Kwai shop on the Kuaishou platform itself. Okay, and they also worked with other e-commerce partners like JD, quite famous, right? Last year they had a partnership, and you can also buy JD stuff, right, without leaving the Kuaishou app. Okay, so this is as we can see, the revenue contribution from this segment is still very little, right? For e-commerce, not proven. Taobao Live is still the biggest market share in China at this point in time, but who knows, right? And I believe that they should be able to capture some market share along the way. Just how much market share, it's up to you and me to guess, right? I also wouldn't know what's the final number. It really depends on the execution in the years to come. Okay, so in this area, it's still a little bit more unproven, right, compared to the first two. I would think that the advertising will have a lot more potential. Okay, and I also went to quickly scan through their financial statements, and I just want to pick out some of the things that I think is important to highlight. I was looking at their revenue growth, which is pretty healthy. From 21.7 to 21.8 is very good, right? It's 140%, more than double their revenue. And then after that, they also almost doubled from 21.8 to 21.9. So when you compare the first 9 months between 21.9 and 2020, the growth rate has slowed to just 50%. Okay, don't get me wrong, 50% growth rate is still very fast, all right, for any company. Okay, just that you can see over the years the numbers are coming down, right? And this shows that they are maybe at a size that is harder to grow at a fast speed. okay, as compared to the past. Okay, and on the other hand, I was also focusing on one of the big items that they spend on, which is selling and marketing expenses. If you can see, is a rather big part of their revenue. All right, about 25%. Okay, and you can see the cost is growing up very fast. Okay, and in fact, it even went up after 21.8, 21.9, the numbers went down. Okay, but then after that, it went up again in 2020. All right, and that with that, right, they still only managed to grow the revenue by 50%. Okay, so the cost is going up, and then the revenue is not growing as fast as before, right? So it shows that it's some slowdown in their growth. All right, and they are not profitable yet. Okay, you can see they are sorry, the last line, right? They are not profitable yet. They are still running on a loss. Even on as of the first 9 months of 2020, they are still running on an operating loss. Okay, when 21.9 it was positive, right? Then it went to a loss again. Okay, so these are some of the things that may not be that good. Okay, but it seems like they are investing, right? They are investing into the app itself. It may take some years for the investment to return, right? Maybe we are too anxious to see results from them. Some of the risks that I identified, 3 of them. The first is Douyin, which I think is really a main competitor, a main threat to Kuaishou. In fact, Kuaishou was in the market earlier than Douyin, but Douyin has managed to grow faster and overcome Kuaishou to have the #1 spot in terms of short video usage in China. Okay, and also Douyin has an international version, which is TikTok, which never before a Chinese app has managed to get the Western adoption, right? And TikTok is phenomenal in US as well as in India. Okay, so again, they have this upper hand, whereas Kuaishou doesn't have this international audience, right? It's still mainly in China. New competitors may come up, right? As you can see, even e-commerce, people thought that Alibaba is like undisputable #1, but over the years you have JD, you have Pinduoduo, and then now your Kuaishou also want to come in to take some e-commerce pie. So again, I think that short video, maybe new competitors may spring up, right? For all we know. Okay, so that will also take some market share away from all this app itself. Then the third one I see is the regulation. As we can see in the recent months, the Chinese authorities have stepped up their anti-monopoly measures. Okay, they don't want tech companies to become too big. And you can see from here, Kuaishou want to become a super app by itself, right? And if they go too big, they may attract regulatory attention, right? And that may either worst come to worst, split up the company or what. All right, so these are the potential risks that I can see, but I do think that the first one, Douyin, is the major risk of all. Okay, so in summary, I would say that this IPO isn't that expensive, right, relative to other live streaming companies in China. So 11x price to sales, it seems fair, right? Compared to Bilibili, it's like 20 over times price to sale, right? And Bilibili is not as large as Kuaishou, okay? But granted, I think Bilibili is already profitable, right? If I'm not wrong, okay? Whereas Kuaishou is still losing money. And Kuaishou IPO, I think, should do well because right now the market sentiment is very hot. Okay, it's very easy to buoy the stock prices up, and it's also quite popular among investors. The impression of Kuaishou is quite good, right? It is considered a blockbuster IPO, right? So I think given this kind of attention, this kind of awareness, there should be enough price support for Kuaishou IPO to do well. And in the long term, as I said, I think the key risk is Douyin, which they have lost the #1 seat to a few years ago. All right, as Douyin has really grown very fast, right? And I also mentioned that Douyin at least has a TikTok international penetration, but whereas Kuaishou doesn't have international audience that is meaningful enough at this point in time. Okay, so I hope that I have helped you digest, the very long prospectus, which was over 800 pages, and also I give you some of my views and analysis. I hope that could help you understand this IPO a lot better and make a more informed decision. All right, thank you and good luck. Cheers.